So create React app doesn't actually give us the latest version of React. So you're also going to need to do npm install. Oh. No, that is the right. Why did that? Yeah, but it will auto restart. I thought we had to run npm install. I wonder why it didn't do that last night. Weird. Okay. So oh, good, we have whiteboard. So React is built with this idea of state, right? So what's being loaded in here is, the main thing being loaded is this. It's using React DOM render, and all that's doing is it's pushing whatever is in this first argument to the browser. So the way any type of JavaScript works is we have an HTML document, right, that we, in this case, you'll see as we can access it using document. Public index, yeah. And we're just modifying that page using JavaScript. So this is our HTML document. We will probably really not have to modify this any point today. I can't say that for sure. Notice we have a div, an ID of root. So what's happening in our index.js is that, yes. What's happening in our index.js is that it is rendering this component that we're getting from here, we're going to go look at it in a second, into that div that has the ID of root. So if we go look at our app.js, we can see here, we can see a function is being defined, and it's returning something that looks a hell of a lot like HTML. It is not HTML. This is something called JSX. JSX is just a very nice way of being able to write HTML and JavaScript in a sort of intermixed, blended way, right? It's very similar to Jinja, right? What did Jinja allow us to do? It allowed us to use a language to iterate through data structures, output data structures that essentially allowed us to make our web pages dynamic. JSX serves the same function. Yes, Sean? JSX. JSX. Cool, so we've got this very nice React page, and we're going to just take this and delete it. And we're going to say test just for a sanity check, so we should refresh, and we get test. Does everyone have this? It's okay. Let me know when you're here. I just went in. Yeah, I said all of this goes because I want to type test here. This is in your app.js. Yes. Someone go. Where is Rob? Requiring sudo. Show me where it is. Weird. You know where to do. You might have to do
Is that the good part? Is that a good part?
That's a good part, but you can set that you can set that up in Django too. Cool. So everyone have test. Awesome. Or yeah.
I ran into a problem once and issues.
They just had that too. Just CH on it. Do dash uppercase R for recursion. I'm sorry.
Not an alien, I was thinking that. So, I mean, you can continue teaching now.
Well, C's right here. So do you know what I'm saying when I say C? Cool. So that's nice and all, but that's not quite what we need. So let's work on actually getting data from our API. Responsible for getting data from NASA. And I'm going to make a const called get asteroids. It's going to be payload. And we're going to use, so remember we had requests in Python? Here we're going to use something called Axios. Axios. I'm going to install Axios using npm. Excuse me? Just make sure you're in asteroids. So all of this is going to get, when it gets installed, actually, did I do dash save? I did not, but I'm going to. So it's going to get added to this package.json. So if we search in here, you notice that Axios got added. We did not have that before. Yes?
Which asteroids are you using? Asteroids folder or asteroids app?
In the app folder. Yes. Yeah, next time I'll try to make the containers, I'll make the naming structure better. Install Axios. Axios is just a very handy library for doing API calls. No, an API call is so like you remember requests, how you could do request.get, right? And then do like a URL in there and do an API call. Axios is going to do exactly the same thing. It's roughly equivalent as far as its functionality. Yeah, the npm install. You have 5 vulnerabilities? Okay. If you have 5 vulnerabilities, let me know. Yeah, we haven't really done anything here yet. Yes? What file am I? Man, there's so much background noise. No, I'm trying to get a question from Dylan. I just can't hear him. Okay, I'm gonna. Yes.
Where you were in index.js that showed Axios.
I was in package.js. Sorry, .json. So npm is essentially a package manager in a way that it's /CLI, but it's in this case it's going to generate a package.json, which is going to just define it's going to define dependencies, it's going to define like pre-built scripts, it's going to define you can put a lot in your package.json. It's essentially configuration for your React app. So you can think of it in a sense like setting up. a little, like if you could combine the pip freeze list and settings.py, you would have something closer to what package.json does. Cool. Does everyone have Axios installed? Issues installing? Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're gonna work with anyone else having trouble installing have Ross sit beside you and have errors, try to fix it, and we'll keep going. When you do an install, so it has it. Wow, that here is not. You just look at this, you just did hit install request and terminal request, and you're like, you can do it with some things. No, you can't do that with React. You can't just type React stack. Oh, create React app, sure. I wasn't sure if you had.
Okay, let's move on. So we're going to say Axios dot, and we're going to be like, okay, is it a get or a post? Well, we're getting data, and the documentation says it's a get. So we're going to say get, and we're going to paste in our, not that URL, we're going to go here and grab this one, and we're going to do a template literal. So it looks like what needs to be specified is the end and start date for this. Ah.
You pull the get request from the EOP on master data,
Yes.
and then can you go back to the master worker and scroll all the way Axios dot get.
Yeah.
It's not catalog.
And we're actually going to say start, and we're going to define our, I'm going to go get an API key. Optional. That's what I wanted to hear. Yes, I created another, and this is just going to be exactly as it sounds. It's just a worker that's responsibility is to get data from the NASA API. Yeah, so I made it a template literal because so we're going to need to define a start date, an end date, and an API key. We're going to want the start and end date passed in, right? So I set that as arguments. And we're going to want the API key is always just going to be here in our NASA worker.
Does that API key
Hmm.
we registered for earlier is the same as this one?
Excuse me?
Is the API key we registered for earlier the same as?
Yeah, but I just registered for a new one. Or is it the same as this? I don't.
I mean, not the same as that, but I just want like that's the same API key as access
Yeah.
to the asteroid.
Yeah. 80%. Yeah.
Why don't we get rid of payload and then what was
Payload is just a default for anytime I'm going to do like a request or usually a post. I'll just say payload because it's like what you're sending. Yes. Yep.
And what is this?
This is to. This is the template literal that we covered in the JS 101 lecture. You might not have the same linter installed, so if you just look. Excuse me? I'm using backtick. Oh. So this is, remember you can always get to this page by searching string interpolation, template literal. I don't think you need to try to memorize it, just know how to find it. So you have the backticks, $, curly braces, around whatever value you want rendered into the string. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, make sure you're using backticks instead of single.
Yeah, or you also might not have the same, like, what plugin? I think it's installed by default, I believe. Oh, I can select JavaScript React. That's cool. Yeah.
So in your comment on line 4, how would you conceal this from the user when you're using a GET request? Without using a close.
So are you talking about the API key?
Yes.
So typically you would have a separate folder, like a separate file. For instance, if you were using Git, you could do Git ignore, so that specific file would be just on your computer. And then you could set like the API key to a constant and then just import that into the file and then just use like the variable that you set to the API key.
But it will still be exposed in the GET request.
It would still be exposed in the inspected element in your browser. If you really wanted to hide something like that, you would actually have to run a server and have the server do it to hide it from the browser.
So you would do some type of
It would just be on the back end.
yeah, you would have that call be on the back end, and your server just has some authentication that you like type in, and it exchanges keys and all that.
I'm wondering about this sort of thing where you have things like, client-side authentication or client-side validation or anything like this. If you encrypt it, you would still have to have control of your server where your decrypting is.
Something I think is interesting is how Firebase does it. And I'm not going to like go through that because we're not covering Firebase, but I will drop it in general. And what's interesting about the way Firebase does it is that they're actually able to give you just like a block of keys, right? And they're able to use that as authentication. And that actually, and it's not meant to be hidden. It's completely free for the user to see it, but it is successful at identifying your app. And the way that they do it is, so that's your app identification, and then they have like a OAuth 2 backend that you can like register users on to do anything further. And you also can, if you want even like your own system, you can specify particular rules for the database and particular rules for the storage, so that like you, if you want something more flexible. So I think they have like one of the most interesting authentication models for front-end applications I've seen. Not for command line tools though. It's a pain for command line tools. Yes.
Why would you want to master it?
So, well, say I want to mess with you. I go look on your app, I pull that key, I do 100,000 calls to it, you no longer can use that API key. Let's say that it's payments and somehow you didn't think about that. I now can go and empty whatever bank account that key is associated with.
Capital One, I can now go and get all your records.
You do that anyway.
Cool. Okay, let's get some data.
On that note, Equifax is settling their 2017 lawsuit, so you get $125.
I've heard that might not actually happen.
It probably won't. But
So maybe it would be
They're stupid because they had, I can't remember how big the full lawsuit settlement was, but they set aside like $31 million for actual payments, and the remainder was going to be paid for credit monitoring. So I actually went on and filled that form out like day one, but the problem is they grossly underestimated how many people would say, hey, I'd like the $125 rather than credit monitoring. No kidding. Everybody wants $125.
credit card is free credit card.
I bet it anyway, right? It's like, why would I want that? That's stupid. So they said, oh, gee, we didn't figure everybody would want the money. So then, of course, they're not going to have enough money to pay. They've already applied for $125 because then you have to.
Okay, so
You're not gonna-
what am I doing here, right? So here's how I figured that out. Well, like first time I looked at it, I was like, okay, darn, how do I export this to JavaScript? So you see it here that I've imported this get asteroids, right, from NASA Worker. And what I had to do to make that work is I had to export default get asteroids. I could also put export in front of that const and it would work. But essentially all I'm saying is, hey, when somebody says they're importing from here, have get asteroids be something they can import. So this is just another way of importing a function, just the same as we did in Python. Yes.
And you put it in the app?
So in the app.js, I have the import.
So is calling export something, is that like a JavaScript thing?
Yeah, we're saying export as the default this.
So why did this be card
Because I'm exporting a function, not a class. Is I believe the reason. Because notice up here where I'm importing React, right? Later when we're going to be using something else that's called a useState. That's just a function, and it will be like this. And I'm going to remove that so we cover that when we do. Cool. So let's get asteroids is defined but never used. Well, let's use it. I guess I can't do it. No, I can't.
I bet it's buried in the end somewhere, you don't have access to the local stuff.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. We'll have to do it here. Okay, so we're just gonna. It's not exported. Excuse me. Oh, 400.
But we don't have to start.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's get a start and end date. So what does it want? So it wants year, month, day. Okay. So 2018 month. You can do whatever day you want. I don't care. 400. Yeah. Not interesting. Let's see. Let's see what the error was. And I am going to put this on a different line. Yeah. Wow. I can feel the hate. Catch up undefined. Oh, wow. Silly mistake. So we want to return axios.get, right? What Axios is going to return when it does this get is a promise. So it's a good thing we have a lot of experience working with those. So we're going to return that, and then we're going to call catch on it, and we're going to console log that error so we can see what's going on here. Because I actually don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Those are the template. You're saying these back six right here? That's for the template. So just look up template literals. It's just another way of rendering it. It's like the F string. Right. So you can do a template literal and then inside. Yeah.
And the catch here was the temp app, going to console log error.
Yeah, it's just a temporary, just did a temporary function and outputting the console log that error. What I would advise you guys is to try to delay on writing down what I did until we actually know it works.
What is the error you can?
I want to check that, but I want to answer everyone's questions first. So. Okay.
It's gonna have to go back and ask
Oh, okay, okay.
wait on writing.
Let's remove that console log.
And so for NetWorker.js, why did export default function not work?
I'm not sure. We can try to get it to work. I was like, I saw that and I was like, I don't really want to mess with it. Oh, thank you. And that actually, McVincent, that's a much better answer to your question than I gave. So he said that curly braces mean a named export. So when we're exporting it like this, essentially like anonymously, we're not going to use them. So Jake, I'm assuming that I could say like get asteroid, and that would still function. Yes? We're not in the, oh, I removed the console log. Just hold off on, while we're investigating the error, you don't need to be following along, right? Just, oh, well.
Oh, there's a console log.
I also did last night overuse this database, but I don't think that's what let's check 400. Yeah, bad request. Okay. Yeah. Sean, we're not all as good as you. I'm sorry.
Or maybe it's not the page, like it says test. But it doesn't.
Could not get any response. What? Feed date limit is only 7 days. Okay, that makes sense. There are a lot of asteroids. Okay, that's a.
Just hammer it out of the loop, get them all.
I actually went to do that last night, and then about like 500 pages in, NASA went, "Yeah, we're cutting you off."
So what's the issue?
I don't know what the issue is there, but I think if we here we say 18. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it only gives you 7 days. I'm guessing there are a lot of asteroids that float around. And I do like the named export better though. Okay, and then so let's define a then. Just to catch this, and we'll say console.log. We'll console.log the data we get from that then. And we'll remove the catch, and we'll just have that be the second argument of our then. Cool. Oh, let's use console.error. And we'll fix this. So let's get the last few days, actually. So it's the 5th. We'll get 7. We'll get since the boot camp. Oh, we can't quite get this. Let's see. Cool, so we're getting some data now.
What are you under?
Excuse me?
What tab are you in console?
Yes. So there are in the last few days, there were 44 objects that came close to Earth.
What is close exactly?
That's what I was.
Well, we're gonna find that out.
It's within, it's like just outside the moon.
Oh,
It's like only between the
Wait, just outside the moon?
freakish crap. I thought it was inside.
No, that's like terrifyingly close.
So there were 44 chances for us to die in the last few days.
No, I'm saying close is somewhere outside of like the moon's radius.
Okay.
Hey, Beck, can you go back to your,
And also,
Yes.
Are you sure?
I mean,
Maybe someone.
Yes.
a couple kilometers, a mile or two.
Yes.
Also, fun fact, question. How do you get your console at the bottom of your page of the server?
Oh, yeah, go here. You can change it.
Roll with the dockside? Wow.
So separate window, left, whatever. I prefer it at the bottom, but that's just me.
And the config stuff?
The config stuff. What config stuff are you?
Immediately under data.
Immediately under data.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's just a bunch of, that's just data about your request. That's stuff like the headers it sent back. It's a bunch of stuff that we're not going to be concerning ourselves with at the moment.
oh, I just don't have that.
Oh, you don't have that.
No, it's got that, and it's got like line 1 use state is never used, but that's like import use state. And then the other one's like logo, which is fine, but never used.
I was gonna ask, how are you not getting the warning when I use it on the comments?
Yeah. Sorry, I must have just. It's as easy as a Command X. Cool. Let's keep going. So now we're gonna get yes. Yep. And what I'll even do Cool. So if you have the Trace Camp curriculum downloaded, as all of you should, then you can just pull in the same directory I'm in, which is this one. If you just get far behind, I'll push there periodically. It's probably good practice to show that anyway.
I'm also following along on the live stream. It's really helpful.
Okay.
You just pause the screen.
Yeah. So Stephen's given a solid idea.
What was the command line then? What were you doing with the command line?
I just pushed.
Pushed what?
I pushed the code to GitHub. Like
What you were doing?
yeah, I just committed, said working API call and pushed.
I wasn't sure.
Yes.
I missed when you changed export from instead of having an export default to the export constant like function there. Why do we do that?
I like the syntax more. There's no reason other than that. Cool. Let's keep going. Okay, so now we're going to get into some React stuff. So React is centered around one particular object, and that is state. So we have a state in React, and React is built around essentially how do we manage that state, and how do we, when that state updates, update the rest of the application. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a state that has a start date and that has an end date. Once we've created that state, what we're going to do is we're going to have a function called set start date. And its only job is to change this key, start date. We're going to have another function called set end date, and its only job is to change this key, called end date. When those keys change, we're going to hook into our application with something called use effect. And that is how we're going to do any updates we need. Right? Any action that needs to happen after the start and end date have been selected, this is what we're going to use. So
it's kind of like a derivative when things change.
in a sense, right? So React is all about, actually, can I components life cycle. I want an image. I want a better image. You can think of it more as a life cycle in that when state gets updated, it goes again through this process of re-rendering, right? Although it only re-renders what's been updated, and then it goes back and it just sort of starts over again. So it's more of like, how does your state evolve over time? And then how does the front end you're building look in relation to that state? As opposed to like an observer pattern, which is, I think, what you were mentioning. Cool, let's do this. So we're going to get something called use state. And we're going to say, start date. We're going to say set start date. And we're going to set that equal to, actually going to comment this out for now. We're going to set that equal to use state, and give it a default value of new date, which is going to be today, I believe. Why are you complaining? Oh, cool. Sorry about that. And now what we're going to do is every time the state is changed, we just want to print out that state, right? Because we're new to React. We want to check everything we're doing as we go. And we're told by the instructor that this use effect thing, every time the page was loaded, every time state was updated, that the page would reload and use effect would be triggered. So we're going to say use effect. But first we're going to import it.
That's all from React.
Yep. We're just going to say console.log start date. Ah. Cool beans. I'll put one there too. Why not? So what's happening is useState is returning. What useState is doing is it's accepting a default value, it's setting start date to that, and then it's creating another function called setStartDate that's only job is to set the value of start date.
Can you explain the syntax? I've not never seen this where you're creating a constant and then you immediately declare an array.
Yeah, so this is just syntax for declaring multiple variables. So
It's destructuring.
I've seen this in JavaScript. This has been a
Use
while.
state actually returns an array. And what you're doing is you're
Okay.
saying the first item says you're index, and the second, and then the second item, which is index 1, we're setting those to start date and set start date.
Before you do this JavaScript.
I think a few different language offers that feature. I know Python can do that.
Yeah.
Cool beans. The development server has been disconnected. Well, that makes sense. I did disconnect it. And nothing has changed. I wonder if I can say set date here. Wow, React, you hate me. Okay. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to create a date picker, and we're going to have that date picker, when it gets updated, it's going to update our state. And to do that, we're going to look up React date picker. Oh, I don't want, I actually just want a regular date picker on change, not jQuery.
You could Google HTML and CSS. Is an input for the type of date.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
And it would be on change, but the
Yeah.
CSS.
Oh, so you're saying this person has it wrong?
No, regular HTML, all the events are lowercase.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
React
yes.
has something like stimulated events, so it
Yeah.
is camel case instead.
Yeah.
And
Same for class. You guys also might have noticed that's also true for class name.
because class is a reserved keyword in JavaScript. So
Yeah.
And that was just,
And our handler is, actually, our handler for right now, let's just define something called a, wow, what? Oh, yeah, thank you. And I think we're going to have to do that bind thing, but I want to test it first.
Yes.
Expected onChange listener to be a function. Instead got a value. Oh, wow.
Single bracket and right.
Yep. Jinja's gonna die hard out of my mind. Yeah. Okay, so we've got an event here. We should have targets. Okay. Oh, yeah, target is listed there. Whatever, we have target. They're bluffing. Target. Yeah, okay. And then value. Cool. And I think that's the format we needed, right? Yep, cool, so that's already set. So let's say set start date. Cool, now notice that that was coming from use effect. It's already been out of space. So what happens is set start date triggered, goes with use effect. And I actually am going to change this a bit because we can actually just put the set start date right here. Cool. And then we don't need handle anymore. Handler is just sort of a midpoint. It's easier sometimes to just have a function there. Oh, okay. Yep. So this is coming from use effect. Yep.
One really good thing is to set the value equal to the date.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. So cool. So, and that's just a way of sort of that did not work. Didn't we set a default date value for that? So it has the value there, it just doesn't render quite. Oh, no, it's not the right syntax. Hmm? We already set a default to the use state. The problem is that it's new date, which is not the format the date picker is expecting. So we'll just look up new date picker format, and hopefully there's something right there. Because I don't really want to dig into it too much. Yeah. Ooh, no. Okay. Oh, but
There's no easy
Since I
solution.
did this with the Nest API, I had to deal with this a lot. I just installed Node.js,
Yes.
and that made my life extremely easy.
we're gonna keep this lean.
Could you like replace that with dashes?
We're gonna see if we can just pass something into this toString. What is it? Year, month. No,
It is,
I don't want to.
There's no good way to do it in JavaScript.
I don't want to install something else.
don't go to the dark side.
This is always a horror.
Oh, that is so nice. Okay, okay, okay. This is how websites get bloated. I just want to throw that out.
It's all in the name of development experience.
So we're gonna just use this to handle our dates. Whoa. Okay. Oh, so if I just do moment, yeah. Yeah, but moment by default gives you today. What? Well, I think that we want to keep our start date and set start date as, well, keeping them as a string doesn't matter, I guess. If anyone has any trouble installing Moment.js, let me know. Okay, so this is Moment.js. Essentially, it's just going to give us a lot of easy ways to handle dates. And we're going to install this since what we're doing is with dates and we want convenience. So you can install this. I'll drop this into Slack number 1. Number 2, you can install this with this command that I am also putting in Slack. And then in our code, the change we're going to make is we're just going to import it. And we're going to say, here we're going to say moment. It's going to give us today. And we're going to format it the way that the NASA API wants. And what that's going to allow us to do is now, when we go to our date picker, we'll notice that it's already set to a day. Does anyone have trouble installing Moment.js? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to issue a JavaScript demerit for not having good date objects. Win 1 for Python. Although don't try to do async stuff in Python. Will be a nightmare. By the way, you guys' assignment today is not in React. This is a primer. So if you don't get it all today, that's fine, because your assignment today is pure JavaScript. Oh, you want here?
He wants to use,
Yeah, I know. I'm going way past my line lengths.
you need video.
Cool. And I'll go ahead and what I'll do is I'll commit. And I'll say input linked to state. I'll All right, let's keep going. So now we're going to do the exact same thing for end date. And let's change this ID to start. Change this to end. What a book. Okay. And let's put some space here. Cool beans. So we've got our console. If we select one here, we'll notice the use effect updates. If we select one here, we'll notice the use effect is only printing start date. So what we want to do though, when we only want to do it when they've selected both. Jake, how would you recommend doing that?
Create a counter and set counter and a button and just show how to use
No, I'm saying how to only do the API call when both the start and end date have been set.
Put a comma after your use effect function.
Well, that'll just make it so that it only happens on the.
And pass it in a way with start date and end date.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our use effect. We're going to look this up. We're going to look up React. We're going to look at the documentation. And we're going to find where they have their arguments defined. Wow, garbage. Okay. Okay, so this isn't as explicit as I would like for their documentation to have been, but it should be fine. So notice that we're passing one function here, which is what's gonna happen, and here they're passing in prop.source, right? And as you can see here, the description is only recreated when that is changed. So, and because of that, we can put start date and end date, and it will only update when both those have been changed. And let's put end date here. Oh, that did not work. Do you think it's doing an or, not an and? Well, because it updated when start date did.
Yeah.
We need it to only update when start and end date update.
Well, you can change one and not necessarily change the other. So let's say you want the end date to stay the same, but you want the start date to be that finally. You would still send a request for the start date only.
You would still send a request to start. Okay. Can do that. Well, then what I want to do instead is I want to set actual range that will work. So we're going to go look at moment.js.
You can do dot subtract and then one and then comma.
Yeah. Oh, so now that's a week ago. Oh, the 29th. Nice. Excuse me? So what we did is I want to set these to where they'll actually work by default, right? So if we did the API call right now, it would load through. So I just added a subtract here, and then as Jake specified, did 1, and then second argument is week. But when I took it from there, it was in days, so you can actually use that pretty interchangeably, and all that documentation is here.
So when you go to your site, it's just automatically goes to the week before. It starts.
Yeah, so if you look here, it's on the 29th. And then this is today. It's what?
It doesn't show any dates, it just shows MMT, like month, day, year.
Well, we can look at that if Jake wants to take a look. Now here what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do our API call. And we're just going to pass in start date and pass in end date. Cool. And now we have one of all of the near Earth objects in the last week and on which day they were on. Okay, so how do you guys want to view this? So we could do a scatter plot of distance of all of them. We could do a scatter plot of distance we could do average distance per day. What do you want to see?
What do you, what would be like options for the library?
Well, I was going to use D3. So the options are quite limitless, except that I haven't. Yeah, D3's it's been at least a year. So if we start doing anything beyond a scatter plot, I'm going to be slower. Okay.
Also, quick question.
Mm-hmm. What that is saying is, hey, these are your two source objects. So you only need to update when one of these is updated.
That's just render. That's like a render and use it.
Yes. Cool beans. Let's do a scatter plot. Let's see. Wow, D3, you have everything but a scatter plot. Time series.
Did you just see that space time?
Where?
Just up a little bit. See it right there? Genie.
I bet it's awesome. Yeah, no. I'm gonna place some points on a graph instead. This is an interesting chart. I would really have liked the code for it. Okay, I'll just go to the documentation. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to actually load D3 into the page. So we're going to go to our index.html, and we're going to just add it in here at the top. So now we should have access to D3 everywhere that we have any JavaScript. Yeah, I suspect that, but we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. node append call interval zoomed. Okay, so the way that they have this working is they have a, actually I want to look up instead. PI reference. Yeah. Okay, so first we need our axes. So we can define. Okay. So let's comment this out for now, so that we're not like loading this every time, which is how I got banned from NASA's last time. And we'll do a div class name of canvas and with an ID canvas. Man, that's sad that he's leaving because I'm doing this example with him particularly in mind, but it's okay. So we're gonna say D3 is not defined. I don't know if I believe you. I believe you. Okay, sure. Okay, yeah, and instead of doing loading into the index.html, we'll just install it using npm. So I'll go to index.html and remove it. Cool. So we've started. Yeah, so when I said earlier that moment.js is how you get bloat, D3 is actually how you get bloat, because D3 is massive. Okay, it does not like our ticks there, although D3 is defined, which is good. Let's see if we can just say access. Oh. Yeah, okay. So the way D3 is built is it's broken off into a bunch of different ones. So there's D3 CSV, there's D3 access, there's D3 animation, there's D3 map. Yeah, I think there's one. So we're going to be using D3 access. So I'm just installing that. So npm start. Include that. We're gonna comments. We're gonna grab that. We're gonna set that to grab canvas. Okay. Yeah. I see. So this is not. Yes. Well, we're creating a scatter plot. I would really like to use D3 because I think it's good that someone would be exposed to it. But it is creating all sorts of problems. Yeah. Because the issue is fundamentally a import problem at the moment. Because there's nothing. So it doesn't like that at all. Select canvas. That is an interesting question. Maybe. We could probably. So there's one way to really find out. Yeah, no, that's actually the correct way to do that. Oh, we actually already have the use effect for the dates, so let's just set it up for this too. Just uncomment that. Yeah. Wrong structure for this one. Okay, yeah, so it definitely happened after Canvas was rendered. So it's not that it doesn't exist, because we have it here, we have it here. It might just be React's not really playing nicely. So D3 React, select React. Why callback is not a function. What did we have here? I don't think that's error. I would really like it if that worked. Let's grab their prop type default prop. If you're wondering what this is what React used to look like when it was doing, or it's not even used to. You can still actually write the code in this way. This is the class-based approach. So we have the constructor and all of that. We have a actual class that inherits from a React component. Okay. Sure. Should inherit with this. Should inherit with this. Oh, there's no this. This is not a class. So yeah, I'm gonna.
If you wanted to use something called React Victor, they have a scatter plot that might be easier to use.
Yeah, looks like D3 does not like that. What's it called?
It's also built on top of it. React Victor. Top of it. Yeah, scatter.
Formidable Labs. Interesting. Yeah, let's do it.
If you want to go back to Google and then scatter research.
Sorry guys, I've built a few things in D3, and I've built some stuff in React, and it makes sense they wouldn't play well together, but I'll see if I can get that working so I can show you later in the week. That is so much better. That is so much better. That's so easy. Okay, yeah. Sorry, D3.
The nice thing about Victory for React is it works with React Native as well.
Really? Cool. Oh, for those of you who are not familiar, React Native, so you can actually install React Native, and it's very, very similar syntax, and you can build mobile applications extremely easy. Cool. So let's have. So they want just XY coordinates. We can totally do that. Yeah. 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 Have the import anywhere. Okay. Jake, do you see this often in JavaScript? This using the wildcard to import.
Yeah. It just means, so there is a lot of differences in developer agreements between candidates who call export and not. The star is a way of importing all named exports.
Yeah. Well, so it does something similar in Python, and it's generally considered, like, I was more of asking because it's generally considered really bad practice.
Yeah, if you can just do the named exports, it's probably better.
Yes, I agree. I was just wondering how common that is. Cool. I think we're gonna be. Nope, still. Theme. Wow, you don't like their CSS?
I mean, yeah, keep it, that's fine.
I want my graphs to look pretty, and I don't want to do any work to make that happen. Did everyone install Victory with no problem? No?
We installed Victory.
Yes. So I ran npm install Victory. There are lines. Okay, so now let's take a look at our asteroid data and see how we can get some XY coordinates. We have data, objects near Earth, ID. Okay. What you got? Links, estimated diameter, close approach data. Missed distance, kilometers, miles. What do you guys think if we did the missed distance, or we did the miles missed distance by size diameter?
Yeah.
So we would see like how big it is, and then how much did it miss us? What do you guys think about that? Okay, well that's good, because that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we'll make a function called parse asteroid. It's gonna get an asteroid, and so inside one of these we have data, then we're iterating through the near Earth objects, and then we have this. with this, and then we have one of our asteroids. So the first key we're going to do off of it is close approach data. Oh, but this is JavaScript, so we can do this. Because remember, every dictionary is an object. Next thing we're going to do is miss distance. And then we need miles. Okay. So now let's see, where's size? Relative velocity, no. Miss distance, no. Estimated diameter. Okay, so we're gonna go here, we're gonna say asteroid dot estimated diameter. And let's get that in miles. Oh, and it's a minute a max. Let's make this the worst case scenario. just to freak everyone out. And what we're gonna put this in an array. Wow, why are you complaining? Or function call instead of an expression. I don't care what you expected. It is. It is. Well, then once you know React, you can do that. Okay, so now let's, in here, we have this data. So we want to iterate through it. Let's turn this into a real function. Map, or actually we can just do for each. We don't have to map because we don't need a list of them. And say console log data. And let's see what it looks like there. I know. I failed us. Datum. Is that what is the type of data? Oh, I thought it was. Wow, sorry. Oh, it is. So data. Oh, we want near Earth objects too. Okay, so let's just put that right there for a second. Say dot what? Near Earth objects. You okay? I actually feel that. And then they broke it down by date, by days. I don't. Okay.
I wouldn't try to map through that.
Map through the object. Can I map over
You
it?
can do the object.keys.
Yes.
Object.entries is what you probably want.
My man.
Object, you'll want a capital object and then lowercase entries, and then you want to pass your data.near object.
Oh, okay. And so the first one is going to be the key, the next one's value.
Yeah, you're also going to want an object.lowercase entries.
Oh, JavaScript. I could just, yeah, okay. Ooh, okay. So, and then that's going to get us a list of, well, currently that will get us nothing. Turn this into a function. And so the values is going to be each array. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to define asteroids. No, I don't have to do that. I can just do map, and then it will go through each one. No, because the value itself is an array. So we are going to do for each, and we're going to say value. So we want to concatenate that array onto close asteroids. JavaScript concat. Not string. Cool. So we'll just say close channel splinter node. Is that what I want? Say close asteroids dot concat and value. So value is an array for like each day. You saw we had an array of objects, right? That is all of the objects that came close to us during that time period, right? What we're doing is we're just saying take that and add it to close asteroids. So at the end of this, we'll have a list of close asteroids. Move that. And I actually am no longer going to have this be the second argument of the then because I feel like it's a little bit clunky now. Sort of hard to read. Okay. Cool. So what we'll do then is we'll say then, and we're going to accept, actually we don't need to accept anything. Yeah, so because I put it out here, we actually don't have to pass through, which is what I was thinking about doing, is we then just say return. We could do return close asteroids, and then we could put that in here. Just kidding, it would be in here. Right, because remember that this is going to pass down to that next then. But I think that this implementation is a little bit simpler, so we're going to stick with that. Right, just having it up here. So then after all of that's been done, we're going to make one more that's going to say asteroid data. It's going to say set asteroid data. And we're going to make another use effect that console logs the asteroid data. Now, if we're console logging the asteroid data, what do we want it to? What do we want the source to be?
Code. Get it? Source code.
So before we said that we only want to update when set and end state are updated, right? So if we're doing here, we're outputting asteroid data. What do we want for this use effect to wait for before we console log it?
Asteroid meets the criteria.
Well, when an asteroid meets criteria, when it's loaded, right? So down here we said start date, end date. Here we're going to say asteroid data. So when an asteroid data has been, this is going to be the use effect for We actually might not need it. I'm just doing it as a sanity check right now. And we're going to say set asteroid data here. And we'll say close asteroids.
That might not work. Because you're not returning anything from the previous then.
I defined it above.
Uh,
Because I actually just went over, you were looking at your phone, but I told them, like, you can do this. Wait, where is, that's for the for each. Right, but I'm trying to give them a break. I think that's a little bit simpler to see. And it should have the scope of its parent. Not convinced?
You can try that.
Okay. Oof. Can't convert undefined or null to objects. Let's console log this first. Are you going crazy? That is the same. Maybe what?
The first data.
I can't hear you over the.
Yeah. Yeah, just console log what you get from the first response. Did you say 5?
Yeah. This, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to change that to response.
Yeah. And then I would just set your response.data to the asteroid data response.data.
You just set it to the. I did not. Okay, there we go. Now we're cooking. Oh. Oh. Okay. That is super weird. Okay. Okay. Cool. So we have our asteroid data. Oh, that is not the format we want. So close though. Okay. Cool. So now we have our asteroids isolated, and we can say, on this use effect, we'll say map. What? We'll say map. And we'll pass in parse asteroid.
You're right, Mike.
That is definitely an array. Can I index it? Yeah. Oh, I need to set a default value. So close approach data. Oh, and that's an array. So we'll have to say close approach data. That. Cool. So now we have, they're strings. One sec. So we just say number. props.data.map. We probably want to set this domain a bit higher.
What's going on there?
Well, so it's mapping, but the domain is a little low for. let's just. Yeah. Hopefully it'll scale properly. Let's see, size. Hmm. With oh. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Well, so that most of these are very small, actually. They're way smaller than I thought. Say 2. How can we get smaller data points? That looks like garbage. Oh. Yeah, okay.
Oh, look, it's a scatter plot.
Yeah, so it took me a second. It took me longer than a second. But so essentially, the structure we have here is we have the use effect for the date. We set the date, goes to this use effect, filters out, does one layer filtering. Then it sets our raw asteroid data, which then triggers this use effect, which then we further parse down to get to 2 data points. What I'm doing here is I'm just returning an object that's our XY coordinates from that parsed asteroid, and that I map over our data here. And then what I did is I added one more thing to state called graph data. And then down here, we just have this set to graph data. So it gets updated, scatterplot gets re-rendered with all of our graph data. And here we are. So
You're calling the function.
So Beck, is this what you would characterize as an easy interview question?
if you've been coding React like continuously, yeah. Most of the React coding that I've done is actually, let me